right, the Dolphins offseason unfortunately has begun. It was this close to taking it to the next step. And in a sense, there is a little bit of disappointment, kind of the way it played out, how we lost, how close we got. But man, there is more possibility with this regime than we've had for a very, very long time. Now, close only counts for horseshoes and hand grenades and some other things I can't think of right now. But at least we have this. Where in the past, it has been far more iffy or not at all. So I want to cover the game statistically, what I saw, how it really represented what we saw all season, and then kind of show how that will tell us what we need to do in this offseason, where we need to go, and kind of wrap it all up in a bow. I'll get some film to you, doing a bunch of film, and after I do my whole little thing here, for those who care and who are subscribers and, longtime viewers, I'm going to have a little something to say at the end for you guys or, anybody who wants to hear. So I got my own little stats in here. I went over the film and wrote stuff down. So I'll present that to you. That'll be interesting as well. So I want to thank you for stopping by. I appreciate everything you guys do. There's plenty of places to go to stop by. So when you stop by here, I am really grateful. I want to give you a shout out to A-Spread, my sponsor, because without you, without them, this show ain't going down. A-Spread's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. I'm going to go through pass game, rush game, O-line, and then defense, and then the putting on a bow, and then my little thing about this channel going forward. So, Skylar had a powerful story. You heard the whole thing with his family, how tragic that had happened, and how his father had really stood behind him and helped him get to where he was. He was in the stadium. It was a beautiful thing. And he did bring a team to the edge. And obviously you could see there's things the kid needs to grow on, grow in. But there were things within that he did well. But then between that, I didn't do so good and I did good, was a lot of context. And I want to cover that. So on the face of it, Skylar had 48% completion percentage, which is not hot to trot. 173 yards, which again is not hot to trot. 1 touchdown, 2 picks. He had 3 drops, which would have boosted some of these stats, especially that big one to Waddle. That would have probably tacked on 50 yards. So you would have been seeing him in the 250 range and maybe like low 50s completion percentage. He had 51 dropbacks total. And out of the 45 pass attempts, 20 he was under pressure. Okay? Now, you'd have to dig into the pressure of, well, was he late on the delivery? Didn't go through his reads. I saw a couple times where Tua would have thrown it into the gap. He would have had anticipatory throw, and he would have delivered the football. Maybe a 2 or 3, but that's really all I saw. I have to go back and finalize it. But when you go into it a little bit deeper, you'll see a lot of pressure really wasn't on Skylar. And it was symptomatic of the whole season, really. So, with those 3 drops, he had 7 contested throws. So there was some tight coverage along with that. So it was 10 passes where the guys weren't wide open. And that alters things clearly. But the Bills they blitzed way more than they usually did. But they still had about 40 pass drops where they were in 7 in coverage. And when you go over the numbers, I'll get into that in a minute, it was about 4.1 guys in route. So Miami had 4.1 receivers in route. Now, some of those were leakers. So they'd send 2 guys out and let a guy leak, or send 3 guys out and let a guy leak, or send 3 guys out and 2 guys leak. So it wasn't necessarily routes attacking these 7 guys. But 4.1 is pretty good, but we had to keep 5.9 blockers in to their 40 rushes of only 4. So we were having 5 guys, almost 6 guys, 5.9 against their 4, which puts the leverage to the secondary for covering these receivers, okay? And when you pull it all together, his yards per attempt was 5.6, not under pressure. So even when he wasn't under pressure, he kind of had to dump it off pretty short at 5.9. That's pretty low, okay? Tua was around 8. So the pressure, even when it wasn't getting there, there was solid coverage. Now, when he was under pressure, it was only 3.4. So that pressure came of those 20 snaps, and he had to dump it off short. So this is a lot of mitigating circumstances. We had to keep extra protection in. They did blitz, but they still got 20 pressures out of 45 attempts, which is almost 50% pressure. And if you took even 5 out of that, it's still 30% pressure rate, which is extraordinarily high. So I think we could all agree Skylar showed some stuff. He has stuff to grow on. 3rd game in a postseason game against a very tough defense that is a division opponent that knows you in their house. Now, he clearly has to grow, but this ability to protect is critical. And I know I've been harping on it, but you can't get that much pressure, keep that many guys in, and really put the full onus on the quarterback. So Waddle, 3 for 47. It should have been about 4 for about 100. He had 14.7. They were kind of shutting Hill down and making them go to Waddle. And Waddle had the drop. He had that one nice catch at the end. It was a nice catch with it being hit the way he was. But then there was a couple of contested catches where the ball got to him, but the cornerback made an unbelievable play to break it open. But he is a body catcher. He really needs to work on his hand game, to not allow the ball to get to him, to attack the ball before it gets to him, and that will help him a lot. He did a couple times, but he just needs to do it a little bit more. And somebody else pointed he has a tendency to leap in the air when he doesn't have to. I'll have to investigate that. Now, Hill, he was 7 for 69, but only 9.9 per catch. So the model is, going forward, is to limit Hill, make Waddle beat you, and then get after the quarterback and cause him to have problems while keeping lots of guys in the secondary. Now, the Bills, they were feeling the loss of Phillips. They were feeling the loss of Vaughn. And their front, their pressure front, was really inhibited. Teams like the Jets don't need to blitz that much. And next year, when they got Vaughn, it's going to be a little bit harder because he's going to be in there, and they're going to be able to drop even more guys into the secondary unless we begin to block effectively and force them to bring those extra blitzes and still pick it up. Okay? So Wilson, he did okay at that one catch with the first down, but what we paid for him, and in order to get rid of him next year, it's going to cost us $7 million. I don't know about the post-June cut. So it'll be interesting to see what he goes for. But these are 2 really good receivers. 3 we don't know with Wilson. And then you got Easy in the background. And still Sherfield and all that. Receiving core looks good. But they, too, are restricted by the blocking. If you put 3 guys into routes and have 7 guys out there, it is double coverage with 1 guy being triple coverage for all intent and purposes. So this blocking is not only going to help everything else out. It's going to help the run game, which I'll get into. It's going to help the quarterback out. It's going to help the receiving group because the more receivers you get out there, the better options the quarterback has. And then the receivers themselves will have more one-on-ones and better options themselves. It all comes back down to the blocking, as some people don't like to hear me say, but I called it at the beginning of the season, and clearly the stamp on the game, aside from the discipline, was the offensive line. So now the run game. That was the yellow key I had. I did some podcasts going into the week. I did one. I said, let's be realistic before we get into the playoff game. And then I had some people like kind of complaining, like, you need to expand on this because you didn't talk about this. And then I expanded on it, and then they weren't happy with my results, and I didn't get to do the positive stuff till late in the week. But we ran 150 versus the Jets because they let us do it for the most part. And this week, they were able to stop this run game. Now, Shell wasn't in. Hunt was playing at tackle. We had, Cotton at left guard. And Tehran my man Tehran's an animal to play through pain. And he wasn't 100%. So we have to keep that as mitigating circumstances and understand the reality of that. We were depreciated a little. But normally we have Eichenberg in there. And Eichenberg is worse than Cotton. And beyond just the actual production of 15 rushes for 2.3, you have to look at the strategy going into the game and how did it match the situation? How does it match the defense? And how does it match your personnel? Okay? So I liked what McDaniel did in some ways. He came out and he had 8 zone runs and he had 7 gap runs. That's been a really good formula for us. It allows us to have a semblance of balance. We're really good at those gap runs and flooding an area, and that's usually when we get those breakout runs. And so I really like the dispersion between gap and zone runs. But my complaint is here, and I'm going to show you the actual runs themselves I thought were a failure. Could be wrong, but let me present this information to you. So, when you're a defense and you got an offense coming at you, you've got to guard everywhere. And so the more places you have to guard, the more spread out you are and the more difficult it is to stop this offense. It's a big, big field, 50 yards wide with 11 guys. So when you're getting attacked, it's easier when the attacks are not happening in certain parts of the field. And then when those attacks happen to your defense, does it attack your strength or not? The Bills are really good at dealing with outside stuff. So we had toss sweeps and an outside zone run. 7 of them were failures. And by failures, 3 yards or less. We had an outside zone toss, 1 that was successful. So our outside zone attacks, we had 7 of them, which was 50% of the initial layout of what our runs were. We had 15, and so 7. So 7 attacked the perimeter, and only 1 had success. Now, inside zone, we had 2 inside zones that failed. We had 1 inside zone that succeeded and 1 inside zone off tackle that succeeded. So of our inside zone attacks, 1 was actually on the edge. Just because it's inside or outside zone doesn't mean you don't attack. You only attack inside. So we had 2 successes and 2 failures, and 1 of them was still on the perimeter. So at this stage, we have 8 perimeter runs. And of those, you only have 2 successes. So we did 1 jet sweep, which was a success, a really nice one. We had 2 reverses. 2 succeeded, 2 failed. And we had 1 draw inside that failed. So we attacked the perimeter 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 of the 15 running plays were perimeter run attacks. Now, the last time we played the Bills, it was more like 60 inside and 40-ish outside. A little different personnel grouping, but still, it proved that the perimeter attacking wasn't the wise strategy. And if you'll think about this whole field approach and how difficult it is for a defense to stop a full field attack, you clearly see we spent a lot of time on the outside, and it didn't work, but we kept on going to it. So, the offensive line clearly played a major part. But you'll see the tight end group also played both a major and negative part. Smythe, I give him a lot of credit. He had an unbelievable day run blocking, not so much in the pass blocking. But let's see. Cotton, who came in, he had 1 sack and 3 pressures. Now, while he is what he is like a 4-string guy to be put in there, his game was about an average Eichenberg game. So there really wasn't that much difference with his play compared to a typical Eichenberg game. Now, our tight ends and running backs were a major, major problem. We need to upgrade that big time in the blocking, inline blocking, but also the running backs being able to block. Mostert does a much better job. Ahmed had a really big mess up on a block. But they gave up 2 sacks, 1 hit, and 2 hurries. And Long, who we spent a 3rd-round pick on, had a 47 pass blocking grade. I just used a PFF grade there to kind of get you to understand it wasn't a good day. Okay? So this offensive line is going to determine our future. I said it in 2021. It was the worst offensive line that I remember in the history of the Miami Dolphins. This season, it was better at times if Tehran was in or not, but it is still poor both in peak talent as far as starters and depth. And it restricted the amount of receivers going out in routes, which limited our ability to utilize our heavy investments in receivers. It limited the protection very much of how to protect the quarterback. We had 3 quarterbacks knocked out, and then the run game itself as well. So a lot of people keep talking about Connor going to guard. I said center is his position. I got to toot my own horn before anybody, and I was right. The guy was top 5 pretty much this year, with some flaws, obviously, with the snaps and all this. But if you put him at guard, he struggles with power. And I am concerned about that. It will be interesting to see if we run heavy outside zone and we replace some guys. Maybe it will work, but I still think at center position is where his best future is because his lack of power can be exposed to the detriment of the entire play at the guard position. And that's why he didn't get a lot of holds this year, one of the reasons, because he wasn't being overwhelmed with power and had to cheat. Now, my man Tehran, I love my man Tehran. He is unbelievable. There's nothing to like about this guy from top to bottom except the injuries. Now, that toe injury he had week 1, the doctor said he needs to go get surgery. So he was battling that from week 1, and he picked up all these other injuries, re-aggravated the injury from last year, and he picked up another injury, I think a hip, during this game. I love Tehran. He changes this team like nobody's business, but these injuries sap the vitality of you. He's had so many, and it's really concerning whether his body can handle it and whether he'll be able to go. We need depth around him. Can't get rid of Tehran, don't want to get rid of Tehran, but you need plan B. We desperately need a plan B because Tehran, it's just too much. This guy's going to have a very long offseason, and it's going to be hard for him to get back into the groove, and you got to wonder about his body. Now, Eichenberg, Greer said they're in our plans, Eichenberg and Jackson, so that's going to be your starters next year. And I'll break out the comment, said they got to learn to compete. Eichenberg and Jackson have never had to compete for their position. I hope I'm wrong, but since they've never had in the past, I doubt they will now. Eichenberg has to make such a dramatic growth from last year, this year, to next year. I don't know if he can. I hope he does. But that's going to be your left guard, and that is very, very concerning. Now, Hunt, I like Hunt a ton. Going to have to pay big for him very soon. At the tackle position, he just is not agile enough. A break glass in case of emergency, I can get it. But he is our right guard. I like him. We've got to pay him. This kid's future will get brighter, but not as a tackle. And that puts pressure on the tackle position to fill that out. Now, Jackson, he played a handful of snaps. He wasn't that good. He hasn't been that good in the past. Maybe he comes back next year and 4th time's the charm. I don't know. I hope so. This kid is a good kid. So is Eichenberg. but it's about production. And so if he's our starter and we're bringing him back and he's 1 year from getting the 5th-year option, and we got Tehran, who's got issues, and Hunt can't really fill that spot, man, we really need competition. We really need depth. Unlike, because this year we found guys on the scrap when people went down. We didn't go into the season with depth because there was no desire for competition. We need to make sure that's filled. Jones, I like Jones a lot, but what McDaniel wants to do here, he already said he's going to sit and Eichenberg's going to fill his spot. This guy is a player that can get pretty good at the inside zone type scheme, but we like to run outside zone, as I showed in this. So I don't know what his future holds. We clearly need to bring him back, but he doesn't fit what they want to do. And then Shell. I like Shell. Still think Shell should come in at guard. He's not nimble enough on the exterior. He played better than Jackson, and he played well. I'd like to bring him back too. But he should come in, be able to play guard position, be able to be a backup tackle position. But he should be able to compete at left guard, and he would win. He would win the position. So would Jones, but we'll see about that. So this is what we got. We need to fill this position up. We need 2 or 3 guys. Dieter's gone. Dieter is gone, thank God. He's a good kid, but he's not a good player. So we need a backup center, a quality backup center. We need depth. We've got about maybe 4 guys, really. 5, maybe. You need about 8 or 9. So that's going to be the key for me going forward. Now, on to defense. Defense is the great thing. I got late on my positivity part of the week because I was trying to answer people's comments. And I talked about, you want real hope? Put it on the defensive line. This game and going forward. Well, we got 7 sacks. Nailed that one pretty much, even though I got a little bit of So we have an unbelievable front. It's going to be difficult to keep them all together from a monetary standpoint. We can easily in 2023. 24 is going to get a little bit more difficult. But this is an unbelievable part to have for a team. Having great defensive front is almost as critical as an offensive line. Controls. We had so many problems in coverage, but look what they were able to do and how they were able to get Allen off his game. And Allen's the key to win this division. So Skylar, 2 stops. He killed 2 plays. He had 5 pressures total and 2 sacks. Skylar's a guy we got to keep. I love this kid. I love the interview with him and Wilkins. These are great kids, great guys, great players we must keep. Now, Wilkins, he had 3 pressures. He had a good day in the run game, but he didn't pop the rest because he was getting a little bit more focus. Chubb, he had a sack and 3 pressures. That hand's messed up. He's a little bit of a slower guy. He's your Sam in the 3-4. He needs a little more time to deliver. We need better coverage to get some cover sacks, and he will deliver. And he's got to. We paid a ton. But Phillips he had such a game, an unbelievable game. I'm doing tape on this guy. He is so good, and he's getting better at a geometric pace. 6 stops. He killed 6 plays, run plays. He had 0.5 sacks and 7 pressures. This guy was an animal, and he's only getting better. Masterful pick, unbelievable player, unbelievable kid. I love this kid. I think I had some concerns last year, but his work ethic, his ability to stay healthy, his ability to grow and go get teachers shows he's not only a class person, but a class player. A class player. So, Raekwon Davis, he had an unbelievable 2020 season, but got that knee injury early in 2021, and he hasn't been the same. The knee keeps getting bulky. 6'6" inside. This could be, I dare say, a career-robbing problem. I like the kid. He's unbelievable when he's healthy. We need him. But next year is going to be his contract year. We need to keep an eye on. We need somebody to back him up. I don't think Jenkins is getting a little too old and a little push on that position. It'll be interesting to see if he can bounce back. VG, A lot of people don't like when I say this. I miss him too. But I don't see how he can spend the money on him. He's going to get a good salary. He's a guy that people will pay decent amount for. So that will be very interesting. Rowe, we need to cover safety. He stinks. He doesn't stink. He's good in the run game, but he can't really cover at this stage. And his contract is up. We really need... I like Brandon Jones. He's good in the run game, struggles a little bit in the pass game. Maybe he can build his pass game up, but we clearly need another cover safety. Nick Needham says they're going to look to re-sign him. I like the kid. That's a really big help for us. Now, Baker, he had 7 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. Struggled a little bit in coverage. Sometimes he doesn't have recognitions of his zone depth, and sometimes he still gets sucked up by linemen in the run game. I like him. Depends on the scheme you run. I'm going to talk about scheme next. Landon Roberts, I like him, just not athletic enough, and I don't really know if he's our future. I don't think so. I love the guy. He would have been great 20 years ago. So, scheme. What scheme are we going to run? X can play a really good zone coverage. Kohu, he was beat a couple times deep. He's really not able to do the man coverage that we want. Zone is where we need to go. X will play a great zone. He could be physical, drop, and bait. I think Kohu could do the same thing, and that will really help us out with Needham and maybe getting one more corner in here. When you need man coverage, like the way we play it, it just puts too much pressure. You need 2 greater cornerbacks, and it's a huge investment, and it's a very hard find. So I don't know what the scheme. I was talking to a guy who played big-time ball, and he thinks 4-2-5, and he might be right. I don't know. I got to think about it. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. Now, obviously, what we're going to do with the scheme, if we're going to stay in cover 0, man, we really need corners. Discipline, clear, blocking tight end, a full, complete tight end. Gesicki's gone. O-line, absolutely critical, and an upgraded running back. We need an upgraded running back as well. And so I don't think this is really out of the realm of possibility. We can find these guys. We don't need all Hall of Famers on the O-line, just some quality and quality depth. And you can find those guys cheapish. Look at Shell, how he altered things. So I do believe the future can be bright, but it's a great unknown. So this was a nice stamp, an unbelievable feeling for a game, a little bit of a letdown, but the door is cracked open unlike we've seen. What will happen? That's what we've got to see. So that's going to be ended for here. I'm going to go and talk to people who care, my longtime viewers and subscribers about what I'm going to do here. So thanks for stopping by. Get you next time. Well, just wait a second if you're going to stay. But for you guys that are leaving, get you next time. Be well. All right, guys. This is for the subscribers, the people who, comment all the time and who, I got a little bit more of a relationship with. I got my 3rd season. I want to let you guys know. A little stipulation, though, that the growth they saw in the 1st season, it needs to kind of be more like that. In the 3rd season, the 2nd season, it wasn't so hot. Now, I tried. When I first did this, I didn't think it would last more than a couple weeks, to tell you the truth. And I just came out doing my thing. And then when the regimes changed, people didn't like who I had been before when I was telling the truth or the way I saw it. And so my viewership dropped because Flores had dead bodies in the basement. And if anybody said differently, they weren't a good Fin fan. And I understand now. I didn't really fully get it because I was writing for Phins News for years and you don't really have that interaction. But most fans, or many fans, I think from all fan bases, but I know clearly for the Dolphins, they just want positive talk. They just want hope. Everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be right. And for me, when I started doing this, the thing I wanted to do most was do right by my Dolphins fans. Do right by anybody, but especially my Dolphins fans who constantly get controlled by the media, duped by the media. Every single year, this is the year, and it's the same up and then let down. So I said I was going to be truthful, and I was being truthful, and the numbers were going up. But then people started saying, hey, I don't like what you're saying, But I'm not going to change who I am. I believe in telling the truth. I'm not always right, but I respect the viewers. I believe in good information. I believe trying to show different perspectives, not always telling somebody things are right, even if I might not be right myself. But being a purveyor of good information and not chasing numbers. So there's no way for me to continue to grow my stuff when you have lots of people that want just positivity, and there's plenty of people that will just lead them along like Pied Pipers. Whatever. That's your business model. So I'm going to expand. I always wanted this to be a football channel. I'm going to still cover my Dolphins, but I'm going to do it a little different way. I'm going to try to reach certain segments that like certain things and other segments that like other things. A lot of people just like short stuff. If I go 15 minutes, it's too long. I'm going to keep the short stuff and the truthfully positive stuff for the people who like that in this kind of venue that you see here. But I'm also going to do some live stuff where the people that subscribe and like me to go on for a while, that want to communicate back and forth, that want to be part of a community, a forum of football thinking people, that will be the venue for that. But I'm also going to cover more teams. I want to cover the AFC East. I know the teams well. I study them all the time. So I'm going to diversify my coverage. I'm going to amplify the amount of coverage I do because I enjoy doing this. And it's either A, say, McDaniel's the greatest coach of all time and everybody's the greatest thing of all time, and always be what the people want to hear to keep my sponsors happy, or I find an alternate method, tell the truth, find people that are okay with difference of opinions, don't mind telling me I'm wrong, and me going, I'm sorry, or me telling them they're wrong, and oh, I'm sorry, I figured it out, and we're all working together and trying to be realistic about football and try to dig into the most nuanced and amazing game that's on the face of the planet Earth right now. So in order for me to do that, I got to take that smallish group of different fan bases and compile them together. And hopefully, if that works, then I will have a full base of viewers to make my sponsors happy so I can get a season 4 and Curtis can keep talking football. So, savvy guys, I just want to tell you that I don't have, if you want to hear positivity talk, I get that. It's a football game. This is not saving, the world from radiation and starvation and whatever else. But I just believe in hearing different ideas. That's why I answer my comments. If you see people say stuff to me, it's totally crazy. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it. I interact. I'm good with different opinions. But a lot of people ain't. But I'm not going to change who I am, and that is serving the Dolphins fan base. We have been in the positivity movement so long, and my fans, my Phins fans have been used so much. I want to be realistic, and so I got to do that. So that's it. I want to talk football. I'm going to go basically after the Super Bowl. I'm going to go on a 3-week vacation. I'm dead tired, and then when I come back, I'm going to have a whole new slate of stuff. I'm going to be very organized, and I'm going to get it to you. So thanks for everything, guys. All you subscribers, and even if you're not a subscriber, you're a commenter, I appreciate everything. Giving your life force and your time to this channel to help me become a better evaluator of football, to help other people become a better evaluator of football, and to invest in what I'm trying to do here. I just can't say thank you enough. So, guys, you're the best. And girls, too. Girls, too. I said guys, but, Anyway, so Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well, and get ready for an excellent 2023 NFL season, including the playoffs now and a regular season next year. See you soon. Be well. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with AceBread.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.